You know that constant buzz in your pocket? That endless scroll you get lost in? Ever get that feeling that your attention isn't really yours anymore? Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down this whole landscape of digital distraction. We'll look at how we got so trapped, what it's actually doing to our brains, and yeah, most importantly, how to find our way out. Let's start with this quote from Bill Maher, because it kind of flips the whole script. What if your phone isn't just a useful tool? What if it's a product that was designed to be addictive? See, this isn't about you having a lack of willpower. It's about a massive system that's been engineered to capture your focus and then sell it. So what does a system like that create? Well, it creates this number, 85. That's how many times, on average, we check our phones every single day. Just think about that for a second. Did you wake up this morning and decide, you know what, I'm going to check my phone 85 times today? Of course not. It's a compulsive habit that was built for you, one little notification at a time. And that's really the key, isn't it? These technologies didn't just storm the castle. They snuck in. A little convenience here, a friend's photo there, and before we even knew what was happening, they weren't just on the edges of our lives, they were our lives. We just kind of stumbled backward into this whole digital world. Which brings us to a really critical realization. None of this was an accident. Our distraction is incredibly profitable, and these systems are absolutely intentionally engineered for addiction. It's all part of what's called the attention economy. And believe it or not, this model goes way back to the 1830s. Some newspaper publisher realized he could sell his papers for just a penny, get a huge audience, and then sell that audience's attention to advertisers. That is the exact same model for most of the internet today. You're not the customer, your attention is the product that's being sold. So to sell your attention, they have to hold on to it. And as tech whistleblower Tristan Harris has explained, they do this by hacking your brain. They're designed to exploit our natural human vulnerabilities, things like our deep need for social approval, to make their apps almost impossible to put down. So how does this hack actually work? Just look at this slide. It's a perfect addictive loop. First, you post something. Then you wait. And then an unpredictable reward shows up. Maybe it's 1 like, maybe it's 20. That unpredictability is what triggers a dopamine hit in your brain. It's the exact same high a gambler gets. Every time you pull down to refresh your feed, you are literally pulling the lever on a slot machine. So, to sum it up, it's this powerful 1-2 punch. First, you've got the slot machine effect, those unpredictable rewards. And second, they tap into our deep-seated ancient need for social approval. Our brains are hardwired to care about what our tribe thinks of us, and social media has turned that approval into a game we can't seem to stop playing. Now, when you're being constantly pulled by these hooks, a lot of us start to believe we've become masters of multitasking. But as we're about to see, that's a really dangerous myth. Okay, here's the hard truth. Your brain can't actually do 2 complex things at once. It just can't. What feels like multitasking is really something called context switching. Your brain is just jumping back and forth really, really fast. Think about it like trying to read a book while listening to a podcast. You're going to catch little bits of each, but you won't really comprehend either one. It's neurologically exhausting, and it's super inefficient. And it's actually worse than just being inefficient. This quote, which is citing Stanford research, is pretty brutal. It says that chronic multitaskers become mental wrecks. Why? Because they literally lose the ability to filter out what doesn't matter. So you're not just distracted in the moment, you're actively training your brain to be more distractible all the time. This state of constant distraction leads to what the author Cal Newport calls shallow work. This is all the busy work, answering emails while you're on a call, scrolling through your feed between tasks. You feel really busy, you might even be exhausted at the end of the day, but you've created very little of actual lasting value. It's just draining and, honestly, pretty unfulfilling. And the cost of all this distraction? It's tangible. You can see it on this chart. We're talking about huge productivity losses as our workdays get chopped into tiny little pieces. We're talking about real financial risks in the workplace because of errors and a lack of focus. And most critically, a huge safety risk. Hundreds of thousands of injuries from things like distracted driving. This isn't just a feeling, it's a real-world cost. Okay, so that's the problem. It's big, it's systemic, and it's costly. I know, it sounds a little grim, but the good news is there is a path forward. There is a way to reclaim your focus. And our guide on this path is that author we mentioned earlier, Cal Newport.
Now, he's not some Luddite who hates technology. He's a computer science professor at Georgetown. He just argues that we need to stop being passive consumers and start using technology intentionally, on our own terms.
Newport's whole idea centers on this simple but really powerful contrast you see here. We need to move away from that frantic, distracted, shallow work on the right and start embracing deep work on the left. Deep work, that's where the breakthroughs happen. It's where real value gets created, and it's where we find genuine satisfaction in what we do. It's all about sustained, distraction-free concentration.
So, the philosophy Newport proposes for this is called digital minimalism. Again, it's not about hating technology, it's about being radically intentional. You figure out what's truly important to you, what you value, and then you only use the tech that best serves those values. And here's the key part. You then happily miss out on everything else.
This philosophy really rests on three simple principles. First, clutter is costly. Every single app on your phone costs you something, your time, which is your most valuable resource. Second, optimization is key. Is scrolling Facebook really the best way to keep up with friends, or would a quick phone call be better? And third, intentionality is satisfying. Choosing how you spend your time is just so much more fulfilling than letting some algorithm choose for you. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But how do you actually put it into practice? Well, Newport lays out a very clear, actionable process he calls the digital declutter.
The heart of this whole thing is a 30-day break. Now, it's not about giving up everything. It's just about taking a break from the optional technologies. The ones that aren't absolutely critical for your job or your day-to-day life. Think of it not as a permanent detox, but as hitting the reset button.
The process itself is pretty simple. Step 1, take that 30-day break from all that optional tech. Step 2, and this is probably the most important part, you have to replace that time. Don't just sit around being bored. You have to rediscover high-quality, real-world activities. And then, at the end of the 30 days, you move to step 3. You start to reintroduce tech, but only if it passes a really strict test. And this is the test. Before you let any piece of technology back into your life, it has to pass these 3 checks. First, does it serve something you deeply value? Not just mild convenience, but something truly important. Second, is it the best way to serve that value? And third, can you give it a constrained role in your life with clear rules so that you stay in control? If the answer to any of those is no, it stays out. Simple as that. This quote from Henry David Thoreau just perfectly captures the heart of this entire philosophy. It forces us to stop asking, hey, is this app useful? And start asking a much tougher question. Is this app worth the portion of my life that I have to trade for it? And so that's where we'll end. In an entire economy that is built to buy, package, and resell your focus, the most important question is the one that only you can answer. What is your attention worth?